Welcome to the Soul Deep Podcast with Jessica Janty. Join me as we dive deep into raw, real, in-depth conversations about life, love, relationships, sexuality, spirituality, what it is we're really here for, and anything in between. I want this to feel like a safe space for anyone on a spiritual journey, trying to find answers in your truth by having open heart and open-minded conversations. And my hope for you as a listener is that you feel this is a safe space here, a place to hear things from a different perspective that may challenge you and your thinking in the best way possible, allowing you to give grace to how you've been raised or what you've been taught or told to believe. And perhaps you find your truth as I search for mine on this journey we call life. So grab your favorite drink, cozy on up to your couch or wherever you listen from, and join me for these soul deep conversations. All right, welcome back to the podcast. Today I have here with me Amber. Amber, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited you're here.
Yay, I'm so excited to be here with you, Jessica.
And I was talking before, I just absolutely love your background, and we'll get into like where you are and all that. But yeah, it's just so pretty. I was telling Amber before we started that I switched to, I'm in a new office space. And so I still have yet, as you can see, bare walls, I still have yet to like decorate, but I'm excited about that for this coming week. So all right. Well, before we get too far, I'd love to drop us into some breath here. If you've been with us for a while on the podcast, you know that we drop in with some breath before we get started. So if you're comfortable closing down your eyes, obviously, if you're driving, do not close down your eyes. And we're just going to take some breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Or if there's just a specific way that you'd like to breathe, just doing this continuous, active, intentional breath here, just to really bring us into the present moment. Slowing down our bodies, slowing down our mind, letting go of any distractions, anything that happened before you were here, before you started listening, anything that you need to do later, and just allow yourself to be present here in this space, in this time. When we can be present with ourselves, take this power of the pause that I love to call it. We are allowing our body that stillness that it craves. And if we can build that stillness muscle, that muscle of being still, being with our breath, finding safety in the stillness, we are often so busy going and doing that our body almost reacts to the being still as a chaotic feeling, as a feeling of unsafety, as a feeling of need to get up and move because we're just so used to being on the go. And so if we can take these moments, even if it's just a couple minutes a day, to give yourself this break, this mental break, this physical break, to just sit with your breath. We can also learn so much about our body's wisdom, what our body is trying to say to us, letting our body speak to us as we take this power of the pause. So being with our breath here for just a couple more breaths here. And we'll take one more big, deep inhale together. And if you feel up for it, a big audible exhale. Thank you so much for joining me in the breath, for taking that power, that intentional pause. All right. Well, Amber, I would love it if you would introduce yourself, introduce us to your audience or to the audience. It is really special to have you here. I just met Amber in September. We were at a live event together in Canada at a business conference, spiritual business conference. And so I don't know a whole lot about your backstory either. So I'm just really excited to learn about you. So yeah.
So excited to be here. And yeah, so grateful for the breath and the sacred pause, before diving into the stuff. It's like, how can we move from our bodies? And yeah, Amber Hagberg here. I've been living in Costa Rica now for 9 years, which is just like, for me, it's so crazy because it feels like just yesterday and I've lived lifetimes. I have been studying yoga, yogic philosophy, and embodiment breath work for 12 years, leading yoga teacher trainings and retreats, dozens, 20, 22 yoga teacher trainings I've led, over 15 retreats, and growing and expanding, living in the jungle. It's like, how do I do it? And so, as someone that used to teach 16 yoga classes a week, then moving here, it was really initiation to go into the online space. And it was an accident that I became a coach. And then an accident, after building a multi six-figure business as a self-love coach, who didn't think it was possible to make such kind of money when I was making $6,000 a year teaching an abundance of classes and doing all of these massages and really reaching a point of like, there's no more room for expansion, let alone like sacred practice for myself. And so that journey of like, how do I reach more people and have more time? Costa Rica was like this portal into entrepreneurship. And I didn't even realize that entrepreneurship was a portal of spiritual growth, as was my yoga practice. And so the two merged and collided. And then I became an accidental business coach for multi-passionates because I study yogic philosophy, I study breath work, and I also study business strategy. And being such a woman of like devotion to human growth, wanting to learn how to build a business, I swung because that's just who I am. I swung from spirituality to business strategy. And in that transformation, I lost the spiritual side of myself, but I was like deep down dirty in the funnels and the processes and the emails and the tech stuff. And just recently, like, I feel I'm 7 months pregnant right now. And so I feel like having and holding this baby girl has really brought me into this, like, merging the business with the feminine and the spirituality and the flow. And so for me, it's like, how can I bring all parts and pieces of myself into a business conversation where it used to be black and white, and it used to be like you have to niche down and you have to put yourself in these boxes to actually know being multi-passionate is a superpower that I have, and how can I merge all of these things to support our clients in not just business growth, because a lot of times I'm coaching my clients and they're a business client, but like our conversation isn't about business. It's about the marriage or about the relationship they're having with themselves or a conversation that they had with a friendship or a falling out with a friend. And it's like, because life and business are the same and they're both a portal of like inner growth. And the more that we grow inside, the more that we can expand and create abundance outside. And so for me, not sure how many of your listeners or yourself, Jessica, are into human design, but I'm a 1-3 projector. So I live and I lead through life experience and through trial and error. And it's really allowed me to discover like what works for me and then share that with and serve that with my clients.
Mm, I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful journey. So where did you come from before Costa Rica? Like how did you get yourself to Costa Rica? 'Cause I know you came from the States, right?
Yeah, I did. I dropped out of college in my year and a half into after high school, a year and a half after I dropped out of college to move to Colorado to study yoga. And I was in Colorado for 4.5 years before I moved to Costa Rica. And that was a whole journey in of itself because I had lost my dad 3 months before I graduated high school. And so I went to college because that's what he told me. It's like, this is what success is. And I, at that point, had a partner for 6 years. And before he died, he's like, if he doesn't go to school and get a good job, like, you should leave him. So that really imprinted on me that I needed to go to college and like get a good degree. And there I was in college, and I was just like, I'm not happy. You know, like I was studying business and I had a good job and I had a long-term partner and I had all of the pretty things, except I was like longing for something. And yeah, it took me on a while crazy. Like I had just lost my dad. So I started traveling around with the Grateful Dead and going through like different ways of human growth. Being a hippie with dreadlocks and dancing freely to music. And then I was just like, I found yoga through the Grateful Dead and a woman that I had met. And yeah, yoga was the first place that I was able to feel all of the feels that I had, like through the trauma that I experienced growing up. And then the loss of my dad, it was like just in Shavasana, I cried so hard and I felt so deeply. And my entire life, I had never had that experience. And so it was just like, okay, I'm gonna do something that like my dad wouldn't approve of right now. And I'm gonna go to Colorado and I'm gonna study yoga. And like, I had no idea that I was gonna like find my passion and my purpose, but it's like, I went from like literally not wanting to be alive, like not wanting to be here, to being like, if I can feel this good right now, more people need to find this practice. And so it just like, it expanded a mission inside of me that nothing else in my life ever had. It was wild.
Wow. And so, did you know anybody in Costa Rica when you moved there? Because that,
No.
I mean, especially for, I mean, I know a few people that have never even traveled out of the country. So to even
Mhm.
think of like going and traveling out of the country is scary. And so now you think of like, okay, I'm gonna go move to Costa Rica. Like how was that? How did your family react? Like what was that whole process?
Yeah, it was an interesting initiation because like I tell people all the time I didn't have a family. Like my family is very it's complicated. And so leaving was kind of easy. My sister is my best friend, but our dynamic has been really challenging up until like we both became mothers. That really healed our relationship in like such beautiful way. But before, it was like we were friends, we were sisters. It was really challenging. So leaving her, because her and I moved to Colorado together, leaving her was hard, but we were also in this like, she was drinking a lot, and I was into spirituality, and she hadn't yet got sober and like got a head on her shoulder. So it wasn't as hard for me to leave her. But I moved with my ex-boyfriend. And so we spent 4 years looking for properties and building this dream and this idea. And then when we moved here, like a year and a half into being here, our relationship had always been one foot in, one foot out. It was a really complicated relationship. But then I moved here and it was like, I'm in a foreign country. What are we doing? And I actually had this moment where I was in a 10-day silent meditation retreat.
Mm.
And in the morning, like you don't talk for anyone that doesn't know. In Vipassana, it's 10 hours of meditation a day. You don't make eye contact and you don't speak to anyone. Like the intention is that you are so slow and inside, like no external exercise, nothing that's going to take you out of your body. It's just like in. And I had this vision one morning when I was going to the bathroom that I had a miscarriage and that I told my partner that I lost a baby. And up until that point, I had never really been able to get pregnant. I had two different long-term relationships where never once did we have a scare. And then after this vision, 6 weeks later, I got pregnant and I lost the baby. And it was like literally that soul came into my life so that when my partner at the time had his moment that he constantly would have, I was in such a sad, grieving place because my whole life I wanted to have a child. And it was just like, I can't do this anymore. And I left him. And in that leaving him, I was like, am I supposed to be in Costa Rica? Am I going to be here alone? And what I did in that moment when I left him is I committed to doing all the things I had been waiting for him to want to do with me. And so I went to Bali, India, Australia, Morocco, Italy. Like I had my eat, pray, love experience. And I like started my retreat business and I just like I poured all of my energy into what I had been talking in my mind about doing and creating, but like this relationship kind of hold me back from like rising into who I was meant to be. And I didn't understand it at the time, but 3.5 years later, I was like, oh, I did something neither one of my parents could do. Leave a relationship that was okay out
Yeah.
of fear of being alone. And
Yeah.
that I always feared that. I was like, if I leave him, what if it doesn't get better?
Yeah.
Because I loved him so much and we had such a beautiful relationship,
Mhm.
and there was that but, and I could have held on, but this child came in and just reminded me, like, no, don't hold the butt.
Mhm.
And so, fast forward, I got stuck in India during the COVID-19 lockdown
Okay.
for 7 months at
Wow.
an ashram.
I don't know what
And
that is. Can you say what is an ashram?
an ashram. So basically, it's a
Okay.
holy sacred sanctuary where they have rituals and routines and times that they eat, but it's all yogic based.
Okay.
And in this specific one, it's Ayurvedic, which is the
Oh,
study of life.
yeah.
And so they have different medicines and herbs and plants, and they really align each person to their own vata
Mm.
or kapha or pitta, depending on your person. So it's like human design, but an Ayurvedic version of like aligning to the science of life. There's so many different things like astrology and these types of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I told my astrologer when I came home, I was like, I'm moving to Bali. I have my visa. And she's like, no. I see you buying a house and getting married and having a baby. And I was like, no, that's not my future. And so I got pregnant 6 months later after I met this guy, after being like single for 3.5 years. I didn't date, I didn't talk to men, I had zero attraction. It was just like me and me.
Yeah.
But Costa Rica is the place that I kept trying to leave. Like after him and I broke up, and I was like, why am I supposed to be here? Because so many people will say they want to live in Costa Rica, but I say this, and I even marketed my live event like Costa Rica is a portal. It's a heart chakra opening you up to the medicine that you're here to receive. And sometimes people don't want to receive that medicine, so they can't stay long.
Yeah.
But even, all of the women at my retreat are like, I just felt it when I got here.
Yeah.
And so it's like this sacred coming home when you arrive to Costa Rica. And yeah, she just keeps calling me back here. And it's been such a wild journey in the 9 years because I think about like the different phases that I've been in, and even speaking to some of the women that I met them when I moved here 9 years ago, and to think about like what they've gone through and what they've experienced in myself and just who we became over these, almost a decade now. It's like, it's wild.
Yeah. Wow, that's so cool. So it's so interesting that you mentioned the Vipassana and the Ayurveda, because those are both, so Vipassana has really been on my mind a lot and it keeps coming up. And I was even just having a conversation with my husband the other night. I'm like, I think I'm being called to doing a Vipassana. And there's a place that's not too far from me, maybe an hour and a half. So I'm like, I could go, and do that. It's just carving that like 10 days out, because I've got kids and a husband. And it's like, do I leave them for 10 days to go just do something for me? But I really am being called. So I was like, oh man, when you said that again, I'm like, here it came again. Here it is. And then also the Ayurveda, like that is super interesting to me as well. Just so I'm glad that you explained it a little bit because I think that could be a whole nother episode just in and of itself. So yeah. All right. So Costa Rica, was that so when you went and you traveled to Bali and all these other places, was Costa Rica, you just kept coming back there because you had your life there, or did you travel like a nomad where you like I packed all my stuff up, but then I would keep coming back to Costa Rica, or how did that all work?
No, I left Costa Rica for 4 months. And in that 4 months, I went to like 7 or 8 different countries, and then I came back. So Costa Rica has always been like my home base.
Mhm.
The longest that I've left was when I was in India for that 7 months, and, astray from here. But yeah, it's always been where everything that I have and I own exists. And I never like left and became like nomadic. It's always been like here, but nomadic in here because I was always moving from one area to the next. And I've lived in Costa Rica, but within 50 minutes of the surrounding area, but like in each little like nook and crevice and cranny in this like 50-minute area. And it's interesting just because it's like it just keeps pulling me into a new, like you were saying, the Vipassana kind of keeps pulling to you. Just different parts and pieces would pull to me. And actually, in Costa Rica, I did a Vipassana and then I did a 3-day Vipassana. And then I went to India and I did a 10-day Vipassana. And it is a huge devotion. And I'll tell you, like, when I would go away for 10 days, I'd come back to my phone and people literally thought I was dead. They were so worried because it's like, who just leaves the world for 10 days, you know? Like, it's such a long commitment. But yeah, I just when something calls you, they say that with like ayahuasca, there's so many different roads and avenues that we can go down, but like there's certain things that call us at certain times in our lives. And it's like when it's time, it's so divine. And I went to an event in August this year. And as I sat in the sacred ceremony, I was like, I will never question again where I end up and who is there because it's always so divine. Like it can't be changed, It's just like trusting when the time arrives is that. And so for me, I always say like I'll be in Costa Rica as long as forever lasts.
Yeah.
And recently just been having these conversations with my friends about like we have children now and people that have been here for 9 years. It gives me goosebumps thinking about this. Some people that you think will never get a divorce are getting divorced.
Yeah.
Some people that you think would never leave Costa Rica are leaving Costa Rica. And it's, again, that conversation of the divine. Like, we are not as in control as we think that we are.
Yeah.
And so, having children, I'm like, I don't know if I'll be here forever. Will my kids want to go to high school? Will they want to experience something else? And so, yeah, just recently, the last time I went to Colorado, I was like, me and my sister are like best friends now. And
Mm.
we see each other 2 or 3 times a year. Like, her daughter is 1 year um, younger than my son, and her son now is 6 years, 6 months older than my baby girl will be. So it's just like we have this really beautiful union, but like I would love to just have a home base in Colorado for a few months out of every year. And there's beautiful entrepreneurs there and a lot of like embodiment and somatic work. And I'm like, I'm just feeling this pull. So I'm like, oh my gosh, my life is changing. It's like
Yeah.
when you don't know, like you don't know I don't know where I'm going. And I'm so open to that flow. And when I think I know where I'm going, she's like, no, no, no.
Yeah. So in Costa Rica, have you been in the same spot in Costa Rica then the whole time?
Yeah, within 50 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
Like you drive up the mountain, 50 minutes, I lived there, 10 minutes below there, I lived there, 30 minutes below there, I lived there. And then you drive 30 minutes along the Costanera. In Costa Rica, there's only one road that runs from the top of the country to the bottom of the country.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I've lived in this area, surrounding area within 50 minutes for, yeah, the last 9 years
Wow. Are you inland or are you on the coast?
on the coast.
On the coast. Okay, nice. I was there in February and we were in Nosara.
Uh-huh.
And it was just when you said it, when it pulls you in, or you just feel like my husband and I were both there. We stayed there for 10 days and literally just stayed in that area. And we both want to go back. We both have thought about, okay, would it be crazy of us to buy a place there? Like what, I don't know. It just really has called us. But I do know because as you know, I don't know if you know Brooke that lives in
Mhm.
Osara. Yeah.
Yeah.
um, you know, she's had a lot of issues with, cars and then houses. And we were there when she was having some issues too. So it's like my husband is in construction. So he's like, the things that he can fix here, it's just like, oh, I'll just run to the store and grab whatever. And there it's a lot different. Your store is however far away. And are they going to have all the things that you need? And it's just different there than it would be in the States. So it would be a big adjustment, that's for sure. But it also was just it really did. It felt like home, like some place that you could call home. Like, yeah, just gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I often say. I'm like, there's so many things here that are so challenging. Like, you want to go to the bank or you want to transfer money here. It's like they want to see where the money's coming from and they want the to know in Spanish and then they want it apostillized or yeah, I used to live 30 minutes from a grocery store or a pharmacy. Like having a child, that's not an option, you know? Like
Yeah.
I used to live places that were way far away from like any type of Montessori or private school and like there's just so many things that allow you to practice patience and, you
Mm,
know, deep
yeah.
surrender and timelines. You know, we go in and out of power and in and out of internet and we don't have snow, but like when I was away just recently in Colorado, it rained for 2 weeks straight, and that
Mm,
rain took out mountains. And what I mean is like all of the dirt and the mud from the mountain was in the middle of the road.
mm,
And that meant the road was blocked, and there's only one road, so that road was blocked for days. And
yeah.
like nothing could move. So what does that mean? Like your trash isn't getting taken out, you're not able to travel. You know, there's just so many things that do happen here. And it's like, Pura Vida, you know, they're not in a hurry.
Yeah.
Your electricity goes out and they might not show up for 4 hours. And it was just a matter of like doing one thing that took 5 minutes. But
Right.
because they took so long to get there, and it just, there's so many things and it's worth it. And I've been talking about this a lot lately, like the things that are challenging are also worth it. So it's like, is the pros worth the cons?
Yeah.
And, you know, motherhood's not easy. Running a business isn't easy. Being in a long-term relationship isn't easy. Living in Costa Rica isn't easy, but why are you doing it? And then if that can outweigh the things you have to grow through, then you commit and you ride the waves when they arrive because there'll be waves.
Mm. Okay, so you talked about possibly like moving to Costa or no, Costa Rica, Colorado for like a couple months if that's something that is comes to fruition. So, are you married or just with your
I
partner?
am.
You are.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, and he's from Costa Rica, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then it would be him having to like, would he have to get a visa or like do anything crazy to get to Colorado and be there for a while?
Yeah, so we just waited, and another thing about Costa Rica, we just waited 2 years for him to get his visa. We had an application process that took a year and a half, and then we went through the process. And yeah, so this year, for our first time ever, he got to come with me and my son, our son, to Florida. And we were gonna go to Colorado this month, but I'm like, I'm pregnant, I'm tired, I cannot
Yeah.
go up and down in another plane. I've traveled way too much. And so he will be able to come. I mean, I think his visa is a maximum of 3 months, which is kind of like what I'm thinking, like 3 months away. Like you can't, you know, my son's about to be 3, he's gonna start school soon. So we won't be able to go like that much longer if we do like put him in school and such. But yeah, the visa process was challenging and I know you're from Canada, right?
Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin, you're in the States. Okay,
Mhm.
but we met in Canada, so
Yeah.
that's where my mind was.
Yeah.
So with the last several years of so many people illegally crossing the border, you know, it was really challenging because I know so many people that just went and paid 10K, got into the USA, and my husband is like waiting years to do
Yeah.
it legally, and it was so frustrating. And
Yes.
yeah, it really bothered my sister too. She's like, I want to meet your husband. She was a little upset with me when I decided to get married and she had never met my partner. But it wasn't really, you know, it really wasn't an option yet for that to happen. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. All right. So I love to ask everybody on the podcast, what do you think is your soul's purpose?
mm, such a good deep question. I would say that as I continue to grow and evolve, that answer continues to change. And so recently, I knew growing up that I was here to change my family lineage. I knew that like the women before me like had chosen me to come in and do things differently. And it really started, just my grandmother was very sad and alone. Her husband left her. My mother, she was very sad and alone, and her dad left her. My dad has found like so I knew that I had to be initiated because I always had this question of like, why me?
Mm.
And I felt sad, like the victim. And then I got pregnant with my little girl, and I was like, the lineage healing got really, really strong. And after I held this live event in a room full of 30 women, I've never felt so safe in a room to be seen in all parts of me. And I realized that, like, I really learned how to mother myself and hold sacred space within myself so I could hold that sacred space for others. So I really do feel that my legacy is helping women to create safety within themselves, to celebrate and let themselves be seen because for so long like we needed men to get bank accounts. We needed men to care for us, and our world is changing, and we've gone through so much sisterhood battles and comparison and competition. And so as I created that safety, really embodied within myself of like, it's okay to do what you're doing and it's okay to get loud through it. I feel like now my soul's mission has been not only to create that safety within myself, but now my daughter has been in my womb as these conversations are being had and as we're holding this sacred space. And I just like, tears just like fell down my face as these women were just like saying, I've never felt so safe. I've never felt so seen. And I've never felt so supported in a place of like, you really do want to see us rise. You really do want to see each person shine in the spotlight. And so I feel like just bringing others into the other women specifically into the spotlight so that they can shine in such an open, safe, sacred space container, but it started with me, So, like, my soul's mission was to heal all of the past generations. And now it's like me, my daughter, and the future as well. And then the communities that we get to create and collaborate with.
I love that. I so love that. And I resonate with so much of it because that's so much of who I feel like I am and what I'm here to bring, as well as this deep generational healing and this deep sisterhood connection and creation and finding safety in your body and in the containers that we hold. So I just love that. And I love that you have found this work and that you've done this work prior to even having children, especially as having your daughter, because my kids are, well, 18 and 16. And a lot of times I will sit and think, like, oh, if I would have just had this work before, so I could have taught them this stuff. Like, they're going to have to go through now their own and figure it out themselves. I mean, yes, they will hear and they will listen to what I have to say, but not as they're at that age where it's like, okay, mom, I don't know if I don't want to say that they don't trust me, but like what mom says at this age in the teenage years is not like, I don't know, they're into their friends and they're into, I don't know, all the other things, what the internet has to say, and not really, mom and dad don't know as much. So I love that you have this beautiful opportunity to bring your daughter into these spaces that you've created. And yeah, that's just so beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah, and I'll just say too that something I recently told a client is yes, and now your children, I remember I always tell my friends who are having hard times with their teenagers, I'm like, I was a teenager once and I would never wish me as a teenager upon any other mother or child because I was rebellious. I was full of trauma and I had a lot
Yeah.
to release. But they get to witness your growth. They get to see the Jessica that raised them. And then when they're out of their like other things and they become parents or adult, like actual adults, they're going to remember the Jessica that raised them and they're going to be able to witness the Jessica that you've become. And that is so powerful because they can see what happens when you do this work. Right now, they can't because they're in the middle of the timeline.
Yeah.
But to see that duality, I too think is so powerful. Because the one reason, like, I just made a post on this, I broke up with my mom this year. But it was like, because for 9 years, she was changing. And I was like, you haven't done anything different, you know? And so it was like, I'm changing. You can only say that statement for so many years and so many times for it's like, that is just a lie.
Mm.
And so as I watched her lie to me for almost a decade, I started watching her lie to my son. And I was like, I can't like keep doing this. It's unhealthy. And so I'm changing has to become I've changed at some point or people aren't going to believe you.
Yeah.
And so for you, just like you're in the middle of the timeline and on the other side of their journey, they're going to be able to see this duality of who you've become.
That's true. I love that. So thank you for that reminder because that was good. Yes. I needed that. Yeah. And so speaking of like motherhoods and breaking up with your mom, I mean, that had to have been a really hard. Did she come to Costa Rica with you or is she
No,
back?
she's never come. No.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting because I think something that, you're always taught that family is everything. You stick with your family, you have to put up with your family no matter what. And really, I don't think that's the case either because they can be toxic. They can be holding you back. There can be so much to the dynamic. There can, just so many different things. People go through so many different situations. And so, yeah, I don't know if you'd like to speak to that fact of like you don't have to stay in a relationship. You don't have to stay in this, especially as being a daughter or, as a mother or whatever it is in your life that if it's not in alignment with who you are and your best self and moving you forward, that it's okay to say, I need to back up and this is just not for me right now.
Yeah, I think the hardest decision I've ever probably made in my life. Because I remember always one thing my dad told me is she's your mother and you have to love her. And so 2 years ago, my sister broke up with my mom. And I was like, wow. And like she held to it and she held strong. And I was just like, I just started having 2-year-old conversations with my mom where I would Zoom her, FaceTime her, and my son would talk to her, but we never got personal because
Mm-hmm.
if we got personal, it got gross in some way. And it just got to the point where we had too many conversations where she said things to me that just hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
And then she would do what she always does and react in such a really nasty way that I was just like, I can love you, but I don't have to be in contact with you. And so I love my mom. Like becoming a mom and not having my mom is the hardest thing,
Yeah.
especially like after losing my dad. So it's like having no parents. And like becoming a mom now, like I don't know that I ever really had parents.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were my parents and they did what they were supposed to do, but like the level of parenting that I desired, like my parents couldn't show up for me in that way.
Yeah.
I've been able to forgive them both becoming a mom because I also know that they did the best that they could with what they were taught, what
Yeah.
what they were given. It's not their fault. And I don't have to. Like if my mom was a friend, I would have broke up with her so many decades ago.
Yeah.
And so the hard part is when it's a family member and you want to keep your family close. But I've been adopted by so many other mothers who are so much more in alignment and supporting and there for me in ways that my mother couldn't have been. It's hard. It's like, when do you make the decision? You know, it's like, how do you do that? And it was just like this year, this straw, and I just think like the power of being pregnant and like how you let other people treat you is such a thing that you want to show your children. And yeah, my mom has been telling me for 9 years. I'm going to get my passport. I'm going to come to Costa Rica. And then she started telling that to my son.
Mm,
And that's when I was like, no.
mhm,
I don't want you to create those habits within him. And
mm,
so I'm really grateful because my husband, his parents live 20 minutes away. He's there right now. He's there with his grandparents and he loves them so much and they love him so much. And so he has that. And I promised myself growing up that I would do things differently. And I'm
mm,
grateful that like I've been able to keep that promise and he's able to have these healthier relationships. Maybe not on my side, but like my sister too, she doesn't have anything on her side, but her husband has such a big family. And
mm,
so her and I have just been like the glue that
mhm.
like we have each other
Yeah.
and we're doing this differently. And like we were like, married into families that like do value. Like when I met my husband, every night he told me he was going to eat dinner at his mom's house.
Mm.
And I was like, is he lying? You know? But it's like, no, every night he went and he saw his parents. And
Mm.
anytime his parents need anything, he's there. And I'm like, he's 35 years old. That's so, so sweet, And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, it just had to be, I guess, seeing her do to me what she did to me do to my son.
Mhm.
It really helped me to cut a cord and see a bigger picture.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. That's beautiful and hard all at the same time. So,
Yeah.
yeah, just an encouragement to people out there. If you feel like there is a relationship where you're like, I have to keep putting up with this, just knowing that you can create those boundaries. You can still love them, but
Yep.
create that boundary.
Yep. Yeah,
Mhm.
boundaries are so important,
Yeah.
especially with the people that we find it hardest to have
Yes.
boundaries with. Like that's the initiation, right? It's like it's easy to have boundaries against people that aren't family. And I
Right.
don't know if you or your listeners follow Ram Dass, but he says, if you think you're enlightened, go spend the weekend with your family. And I always laugh because I'm like,
Yeah.
it's true. Like I thought I had patience. I
Mm.
thought I had it all together. And then I had a child who is now a toddler. And I'm like, my ability to expand my capacity for patience is tested every single moment his emotions get bigger. And so this used to be, going to hang out with my family. I'm like, how enlightened am I really? And
Yeah.
so now it's like, how calm am I really?
Yeah.
How in my body can I be? Even when I mean, I know you had a toddler, you've had toddlers, so you know that stage. But yeah, those initiation points of like, we get tested and it's easy in easy situations, but how do you use those practices in the testing of times? Oof,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's big.
Yeah, so let's get back into a little bit of like the work that you do. So you talked about doing yoga retreats and breath work and all these things, and this was a lot. So you did this pre-COVID. A lot of times I kind of refer to things like pre-COVID because or post because I think there's been an influx of people, me myself, after COVID, where we really kind of woke up to this like, I don't know, what's really going on and what do we really truly desire in our souls to be doing? And waking
Mhm.
up to that and actually taking action on it. And so, really feeling into how did, because I mean, with you becoming this yogic breath work, whatever it all was that you were doing and doing retreats and stuff, I mean, you kind of started before the influx of all these people doing this work. So it was probably a lot, I don't want to say easier to, but now I feel like there's just so many people doing retreats, so many people doing breath work and yoga and all of these things where it's almost like it's kind of noisy, I feel like, in the industry itself a little bit. So, how has it changed from, I guess, when you started into now? And I guess, how has your journey evolved in that way?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say like before COVID, I wasn't so much into the online space. I
Okay.
was doing it working out of yoga centers and working for other companies and I was an employee. I teamed up with other yoga teachers who had teacher training businesses and I was co-facilitating with other people's companies and I was like the worker, the employee, whereas wildly enough, when I had this deep desire for bigger impact, I actually found my way onto a sales call and into a webinar, the webinar into a sales call into like, what if you could take your business online?
Mm.
And so they asked me in the sales call, if you could sign X amount of clients and make X amount of dollars a month, would you still do yoga teacher trainings and retreats? And I was like, yes, of course I would. Like,
Mhm.
that's who I am. Well, as I got all of the things ready for my online business, March 2020,
Mm.
I was stuck in India getting ready to lead a yoga teacher training, and the world shut down. I had just launched my online business in November.
Wow.
So I was like 3, 4 months into the online thing, and I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm not doing retreats or teacher trainings. You cancel all of those things. And I just dove really deep into the online space,
Mhm.
and the online space blew up.
Yeah.
And as the online space has blown up, we've seen a new way and a new portal of creating impact, making money, and doing things differently. And it has gotten noisy, but I also too feel like it's noisy depending on where you're at. Because where your industry is and what you're liking and who you're engaging with and who you're following, all of those things, that's what you see in your feed.
Yeah.
But for some people, they have no idea that retreats are noisy or that breath work is noisy or that yoga is noisy. It's the algorithm is so good, it knows literally almost what you're thinking.
Mm.
I was in this room at my live event where the women are like, when you're just like having a thought and you open up your phone and Amber's there? And it's like because they were thinking about retreats or they were thinking about online coaching, and then I pop up in their algorithm.
Yeah.
The algorithm is that good. So it is noisy. And depending on where you're putting your nose and where you're putting your energy, what I think is that those that are really devoted, not just to like the quick fix,
Mhm.
but like creating a long life legacy and building a movement and really like in the heart of it, they're going to stand out amongst the test of time
Mm.
because like all phases, all seasons, all like in cryptocurrency, a bull market, it all crashes.
Mm.
But the people that are devoted to it long term are the ones that will build something big. And I think a lot of people during COVID are like wanted the quick fix and they were chasing the 10K months that became 100K months and now they're $1 million months. But like for those of us that have been in it for the heart of it all along, it's not about like what can I do now? It's like what can I do over a long period of time? But that's like with any artist, some artists don't even know they're artists until they're 70 years
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
Or some people create a piece of artwork and they come back to it for 4, 5, 10 months.
Mhm.
And then they sell it for $1 bajillion. So it's like, how much can we really create like a masterpiece of our work and let that be of like, and I was there. I chased the strategy. I chased the money. I did all of that. I lost myself in it. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. This is why I'm here. This is the power I have. This is the gifts I have. And so I think the most important thing is to stay focused on like why you want to do what you're doing rather than how you're going to do it or how many other people are doing it. Because it's not a matter of like, if this is going to work out for me. It's like, I'm going to do this until it works out for
Yeah.
me. And so many people blow up quickly, but they blow up quickly like talking about things that aren't in alignment with their heart. Or I've been talking about this in the last couple of days is like there's a duality of blowing up fast. There's a duality of like being in the spotlight because the more people that love you, the more people are going to have not nice things to say
Yeah.
about you. And that's in any industry. So I really just think about like creating a masterpiece over time and like knowing that like your ripple will become a wave the more clients that you impact because then it's not just you in the online marketing space. It's
Mhm.
you in the online marketing space and all of your clients that are marketing for you
Yeah.
and a testimony to you. And a big thing is being talked about in rooms that you aren't even in. Like many, many people are talking about you in rooms that you're not even in, and they're marketing for you, and no one can like put that noise out because it's happening of heart-centered, authentic conversations of like, no, that woman changed my life, and I'm going to talk about her in all the rooms that I go in and I get inside. And yeah, it can be noisy, but it's not noisy for those of us that are like, I want to build a lifelong, like, I don't, I, I make money in real estate. I make money in cryptocurrency. I make money in the stock market. I don't talk about those things
Yeah.
because it's not why I'm here. I'm here to create a difference and make a difference and like help people. And so that's what I talk about. And I do this a lot in my work too. I'm like, don't have your business be dependent on making money. Because if I need you, Jessica, to pay me to come and I need that to pay my bills, my mission is eliminated from the conversation, and energetically there is a scarcity if you say no. And so it's like, how can we build wealth and money and assets and let our business just be for joy? And then we don't get attached to the likes and the comments and the follows and who's saying yes and who's saying no, because I'm just here to serve. And so at the end of the day, it's like, it's noisy, but if you're here to serve, you will continue to serve until it ends. But don't put all your eggs into one basket when it comes to money because you need money. And so many people are like, you're not all in if you don't quit all of your jobs and go all in on your business. And then nervous system, safety, root chakra, how am I going to pay the bills? Or then you lean on your husband too much. Now your marriage is in trouble because he trusted you and someone told you it was going to be this way and it takes you longer than it took many other. And then we get into the comparison trap. Well, it took her this long or this was. And that's why I'm just like, mission first, make sure you got money on the back end. So nervous system is safety, and just focus on how can you serve, and you will surpass all of the noise and all of the trends and all of the fades, and you'll be the one standing at the end where the other ones got taken down for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Wow, I love that. That was such a great description. So what is it that you do now? Like if someone would ask you, okay, I want to, let's say I want to work with you or something, like what do you love doing right now?
Mm. To the multi-passionate. Yeah, for me, like I love, and I talk about this a lot. I'm a strategy queen. Like I want to help my clients build a measurable and data-based system so that they can scale and have more time, impact, and freedom.
Mm,
So strategy, funnels, processes where you know what you're doing to bring new people into your world. How are you serving them so they know if you might be the right coach for them, mentor for them, breathwork facilitator, retreat, whatever it is? How do they know that you're the person? And then a sales funnel. How are you taking them from I found you to I want to work with you, I want to pay you?
mm,
That I love. And you can't do that if you're in your head and
mm,
not in the body. So it's like, how can I merge my heart's desire, my feminine flow, my intuition, my creativity with sexy masculine structure?
mm.
Because that's how we birth a baby, right? Like, if
Yeah.
you want to make a baby, you need both the masculine and the feminine energy. And in business and in life, like, I want to help you merge those two because I had this moment in my marriage where I was in 3 months pregnant and he smelled bad. He touched me and I felt angry and I was like, I don't love him anymore. What am I gonna do? Like, I'm pregnant with this baby, we have a toddler, but it was the hormones.
Mm,
And so what I realized is there's going to be those challenging moments, but that doesn't have to affect the business. So it's like, how can the love for what I'm doing out surpass any of the waves that I'm riding? People get tired of running the same offers. People get tired of creating content that they're told to create it in a certain way. People don't want to keep doing a masterclass that isn't getting them the results. So how do we create more creativity inside of our business to ride those waves? And that comes from the energetics of holding not if, but until. And it also is the embodiment of like, how can I stay lit up and excited and what is turning me on right now and bring that into my business. And sometimes that means ditching the strategy. Like I sold out my event in 3 months. I basically ditched all of my marketing strategies that I teach people. But it was like a download that I got during an embodiment practice. I was like, I have to bring this to the world. So for me, I'm just really lit up about helping clients like grow and scale their business online so that they can bring their communities into in-person and live events because that's where we get to go deeper. But like, if you want to grow and scale live events and retreats, you have to have an online presence. And so it's like, how do I do that with strategies and structures? And then in the live events, that's where your creativity and your retreats get a flow. So I do all of those things together. Like you can't have masculine without feminine. You can't have feminine without masculine. And oftentimes I'm working with clients and they know the strategy, they know what to do, but it's like, okay, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm thinking, this is what's going on. It's like, let that out. Talk about that because that's how we move through it. And no, you were a nurse. I was thinking that you were a past therapist, but I work with a lot of therapists who are like, I'm sick of being in these boxes and in these rules. I want to have more impact and I want to be a coach. But when we're in therapy, how do we heal in relationship? So, how do we heal in our business, in relationship, in mentorship? And so that's like for me right now, what's really lighting me up as someone that was like in the feminine flow, just posting about my life, loving Costa Rica to like sexy masculine structures and like no heart, no spirituality to like, okay, I have a baby now and I get to merge and like bring both of those into the world in a structured way. And not one of my clients has the same strategy as me because I run ads, I have a podcast, I do Instagram daily. Like I do all of the strategies in my own way. And some of my clients are like, don't want a podcast. Some of my clients are like, don't want to run Facebook ads. Some of my clients are like, don't want to run retreats. Some are like, I just want to run retreats. And so they don't have just one business model that is like matching mine. It's what lights me up and how do I want to serve and what is the strategy that we create for them.
Yeah. I love that. It like spoke to my soul a lot. So, yes. Um, so I know that like this last year has been huge for you, right? As compared to other years before. And so did you do anything different? I mean, I guess you talked about maybe merging the masculine and the feminine. Is that what really boosted your year and made your year just huge?
Yeah, I think yes. Like merging those two was a huge piece and also just deciding. Like
Mhm.
deciding I was going to go for it. I was going to get really big and really loud, and I invested in so many different places. I didn't just invest in a business coach. I didn't just invest in an embodiment coach. I didn't just invest in a branding and photo shoot. I invested in all of those. And then I went to six different live events, got onto six different stages, and then I created my own live event. So it was just like the year of like, I'm just gonna do this.
Yeah.
And I just did it. And there were so many times as this is happening, I'm creating a program on this right now. I just did it. And there were so many times up until it almost happened that it didn't happen. But I
Mhm.
didn't let that stop me from just going for it.
Yeah.
And so some people think like, oh my gosh, you just didn't. Everything was so easy. But like I shared at my live event, like the truth about how hard it was selling my live event and actually what was happening when I was selling my live event. And the
Mhm.
same thing when I was talking to a client this morning, she's like, I'm really scared about doing this upsell. What if no one buys? And I was like, well, I've done six upsells, and sometimes people buy, and sometimes people don't buy,
Mhm.
but I don't let it make anything mean anything about me or the offer. I just test it and keep going.
Yeah.
Whereas before, I made it mean so many things, and I got so inside of my head. And this year, I just witnessed what was happening, and I kept going for it, even when it looked like it wasn't happening. Whereas before, it's like, oh, you end the launch a week early, or you're not getting the results, so you show up just a little bit less. It was like,
Mhm.
I just went in, and it's because I was so invested. I was so invested into making it happen.
Yeah, I love that. So how did you get yourself on these stages and things?
Yeah, it's a good question. One thing I would say is some I paid
Yeah.
to be on the stages. Others, I was just promoting their event. And then they contacted me like, hey, I see you're promoting my event. I'm looking for a speaker on this. Others I applied and others I asked. I just put myself out there because I didn't know I wanted to be on stage. Actually, I didn't want to be on stage. That was not a goal. And then in April, I had this download. I was in Disney World, and my son and I, with my sister and her daughter, were watching a clashing of Disney movies coming together. And Simone was like standing in the spotlight, and I was like, Spotlight, that's going to be a program. And I had no idea. It just, the word hit, and I grabbed it and I sat with it. And then I hired a branding coach who helped me bring that program to life. And
Mm.
I wanted to create Spotlight for other clients. And then I did this embodiment practice and I saw myself standing and speaking on stages. And I was like, no, that's not me. I am not standing on stages. But then as it started to unravel, like that vision, like one thing that led to the next, it was like, oh, actually, I do want to st speak on stages. Actually, I do want to share my story. And when it came through, I told my coach, I'm like, I think I'm going to be a public speaker now. And so I asked her, like, how would you recommend? What would you suggest that I do? And I just started reaching out to people and applying places and looking for them and celebrating other people that were doing it and posting about it. And then they would reach out to me. So it's like, ask people who are hosting events where your story, your message, your mission would be in alignment with their live event and how you're going to serve their audience, what you have to give to their audience. Market and sell their event like it was your own, and then apply. The only way that we can get there is if we ask, apply, and show up as if it's your own. Because if you show up as if it's your own stage, they're going to see that. Because when we're coming to other people to like bring ourselves there, what's in it for them? Like, how
Mhm.
are you going to serve their audience? Or how are you going to help them with what their overall goal was? And I think that's really beneficial because then it's a mutual collaboration of like, I want to give to you.
Yeah,
And then the other thing that was really helpful is people saw me speaking on stages and they're like, hey, I
yeah,
saw you on a panel.
yeah,
I'd love to have you on my panel.
yeah,
And that collaboration of like, hey, I'm hosting a live event this year. Would you like to come and speak at my live event? And I'll come and speak at your live event. Like these are real life collaborations where we both want to help each other rise.
yeah. I love that. Yeah. So
Mm.
what does this next year look in store for you? Because you're gonna be welcoming a baby girl, and I mean, are you planning on just continuing? Like, I'm just gonna keep on going? Are you gonna give yourself some time off? Because I think when you're in the entrepreneurial space, at least for me, it's felt hard to just turn it off. Like if I want to go on, or even thinking about the 10-day Vipassana, but now you're gonna have a baby. So it's like, are you gonna take, like time off that you would if you were in like a traditional job where you get like 12 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever it is that you take? Or are you like, no, I mean, because sometimes our job really is a passion. Our, creating what we are, what we have as entrepreneurs is just our passion.
Yeah.
So I just, yeah, would love to hear your take on that.
Yeah, I am not going to take time off because my mind doesn't shut off. It's a creativity portal. I said I wasn't going to create any more this year, and then a program was born through my live event. And so, what I am going to do is take 40 days of 30 days to 40 days of lying in my bed. So, those that don't have children, the first few months, they sleep like 19 hours a day. When you are a 1-3 projector, three-time Aries, super passionate entrepreneur, you don't rest. Like that's not who I am. And
Yeah.
so last time I had a baby, I took 1 month off, and about 3 weeks in, I started posting again and that sort of thing. But my intention this year is to rest from my bed. And that means just like lying in bed with my baby girl, her and I there, reading books to my son, and giving my physical body the ability to rest. The inside of the womb space, like if anyone was able to see what happens inside of our bellies after the baby comes out, my midwife is like, no one would let you leave the house. But because we
Mm.
cannot see the wound that exists within, it's like, put your pants back on, let's go to work. But in traditional Chinese medicine, this stuff works. It takes 7 years for our body to heal from having a baby. And so I want to honor the physical body as much as my go-getter done spirit is. So I'm gonna write my book. I'm gonna like devote
Oh,
this like 40
fun.
days to writing a book and just letting like the creativity, like if my computer comes out, if my phone comes out, like let that be the space. Like I'll still hold my clients in Telegram and taking calls probably without video,
Mhm.
but not leaving the home for 40 days to like have the fourth trimester be this integration. I also have a toddler that I really want to be able to hold space for his experience
Mhm.
and not be committed to like creating like a live experience or something like that. But yeah, I'm not gonna like shut off. I'll still be here and still be present because the baby sleeps so much.
Right,
Like I
right.
would be so bored, you know? Like I remember when my son came in, I'm like, I had an emergency C-section with him, but I just remember being like, what am I supposed to do? Like you're
Yeah.
just laying there, you know? It's like what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be open to what this looks like and give my physical body the rest that it needs.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, so true. Mm. So it's such a great conversation. Kind of went all over the place, and I love that. Yeah. Is there anything that you'd like to share at all? Any parting words before we wrap up here today?
I feel so alive from our
Yeah,
conversation.
awesome.
I just think for me, it is these deeper conversations of like what life reality really does get to be and look like. And to have these deeper conversations with sisters and mentors and biz besties and people that you love and you trust and like building a community that you can lean on and into because as they say, it takes a village to grow a child. It too takes a village to grow a company or to heal. And something that is really strong for me is just like the wounds that we carry and the wounds that we've experienced get to become our own embodied wisdom and
Mm.
like really turning all that we've been through into wisdom that we get to share and shine light on too and help others. And that's where we get to serve from. Everything that I've been through was for a bigger purpose than just me. And when we turn that wisdom into transformation, into changing just one more person's life, like that makes us wealthy. We feel good and it gives purpose to the wealth that we get to create. And so it's like just keep growing and growing in community. Like for me, that has just been such a huge piece of Costa Rica is the community and now in the online space. And this year has been such a massive year. And one of the things that I celebrate so big is like actually meeting the people that I follow online
Mm.
and getting in the room with them and just normalizing how human we all are
Yeah.
and expanding that. Like what we see online is not what we experience in person. It's
Yeah.
like getting into physical rooms is so big
Yeah.
and building community for our own healing.
Mm. Yeah. I love that. I 100% agree. Yeah. Community and connection and live. Yeah. Being live with people is just, yeah, it's beautiful. Especially after you've created a connection online and then you get to meet them. You're like, oh, this is amazing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I will definitely put your info in the show notes so people can find you if they are looking to work with you. I know you do a lot. Do you have any retreats or anything planned for this next year or nothing yet?
So I have Here for More and the Masterpiece Retreat next December.
Okay, awesome.
That's what
Yeah,
I got thus
so
far.
cool. So cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited just to continue following your journey to, yeah, just as you grow and expand and bring new life into the world and all of that too. Like just such a beautiful time. So Thank you so much for being here, for sharing your wisdom, for sharing your story. I really appreciate it. So,
Yeah, thanks for having me. And it's good
yeah.
to connect and be
Yes.
in this space with you again. And I look forward to seeing you again in person next year with baby
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you gonna bring her? Are you coming
I
to
I am, yeah, I
oh,
am, and I will be
okay.
bringing her to Canada. Yeah, I'm so from she'll be born in February, and I won't travel until August. So
Okay.
I'll give her
Yeah.
6 months into the world, and then she's gonna go on tour with me.
Oh, I love it. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
So cool. All right. Well, thank you for joining in this episode, and we will see you next time. Oh, thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you loved listening as much as I loved recording. Each and every conversation that I have here on this podcast just lights my soul on fire. I love having conversations where we explore and challenge our ways of thinking. So if you've resonated with anything here and you're looking for more, please connect with me on Facebook in my Soul Deep community group, which is free. I'm also offering all my listeners a free month in my Soul Deep Connection membership. I have poured my heart and soul into this membership, bringing you resources to help you grow into the best and truest version of yourself. I've used my knowledge and experience as a nurse, combined with my knowledge and experience as a coach, breathwork facilitator, and somatic embodiment guide. This library consists of breathwork, kriyas, and other resources and modalities that will help you learn about and give you the healing tools to live the life you've been dreaming about, and to help you find your true passion and zest for life again. This library of resources is vital for everyday maintenance. And on top of the library of resources, there are live monthly calls ranging from breathwork, kundalini, full moon or new moon circles, as well as guest speakers on a variety of different topics from decluttering to marketing to sisterhood and all things healing and wellness. So make sure you join today to get you back on track to living that thriving life that you are longing for. Remember, the first month is free, and my hope is that you find so much value that staying is an absolute no-brainer. It really is everything that I was looking for as I started my journey, and so much more. I truly hope to see you inside my community. And if you haven't yet, please follow me here and on social. Like and subscribe, and make sure to share your favorite episode with your friends and community. And when you do, make sure to tag me in that post. If you tag me, you'll be entered into a drawing for that month where you can win a free one-to-one session, breathwork or coaching session with me. All the links will be in the show notes here below. Until next time, Soul Deep fam, and in the words of my dear friend Mary Lacey Banks, I'm holding you so tight in a thought hug.